After I returned to Cockwomble territory last time out, almost like a sorbet to clear the palate, we dip back into the murky world of mental health issues and crime for a viewer suggestion. And not just any viewer, no. This viewer is none other than Mama Crow herself. So you'd better believe I'm not gonna piss her off by ignoring her suggestion. So with that said, we're heading back to 2008 and going to the Big Apple. That's New York City, by the way. Nothing to do with Roald Dahl and giant fruit of any kind. And we're here to look at the life and the tragic death of psychologist Kathryn Faughey and the implications and ramifications resulting from her murder. This is Murder of Crows. New York City, one of the most storied cities in the world. Home to the Bronx Zoo, the largest metropolitan zoo in the world with more than 6,000 animals. Baseball powerhouses, the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. The famous Staten Island Ferry, and of course the Statue of Liberty, the copper-clad statue, a gift to the United States from the people of France. It was designed by French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, and its metal framework was built by none other than Gustave Eiffel. The statue was dedicated on October the 28th, 1886, and it, along with the associated Liberty and Ellis Islands, were designated a national monument in 1924. New York, with its famous 5 boroughs of Manhattan, Staten Island, the Bronx, Brooklyn and Queens. But many people only really know New York City from the abhorrent World Trade Center attacks in 2001. But New York is very much a synergetic city, by which I mean that it is far more than just the sum of its parts. In the city, the highest crime totals were recorded in the late 80s and early 1990s as the crack epidemic surged and then declined continuously from around 1990 throughout all of the 2000s. As of 2023, New York City has significantly lower rates of gun violence than many other large cities. Its 2022 homicide rate of 6 per 100,000 residents compares favorably to the rate in the United States as a whole, where it is 7 per 100,000. And to rates in much more violent cities such as St. Louis, where there are 64.4 per 100,000 residents, and New Orleans, which has 53.3 per 100,000 residents. Also, compared to the rest of the country, New York City's rates of crime are low. In 2022, the most recent year with data that are comparable across cities, New York City's murder rate, 5.3 per 100,000, is nearly half of the next lowest rate among the next 5 largest cities, that being Los Angeles at 10.1 per 100,000. Having said all of this, individual crimes and criminals pay no heed to statistics. And in today's case, we will look at how mental health issues can play a significant role leading up to and after a hideous attack. But for context, we first need to look at the life of a psychologist from New York City named Kathryn Faughey. Kathryn Faughey practiced psychology for more than 20 years on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. She and her husband Walter lived in an apartment across the street from where her practice was based. Besides her professional interest in psychology, Faughey loved playing music, painting with watercolors, and visiting her favorite city outside of her own city, which was Paris. She learned how to play the guitar in the 10 years leading up to what we will discuss today. And she and her husband attended a summer camp for acoustic guitar enthusiasts every summer. Once a year, the couple would vacation in Paris, where they would rent a small apartment and walk and cycle through the city. Looking back further, after earning her doctorate, Faughey taught at St. Peter's College from 1981 to 1985, and was gradually building up an independent practice. She had also worked as a consultant at Eager Health Centre, which was a residential healthcare facility on Staten Island, where she would develop programs for families, caregivers, staff and residents. She was clearly a caring woman in a caring profession. And by the age of 56, she was working in her own practice on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And it was here that she would see clients on a daily basis. Now we need to touch on a very, very different character. And this was a man named David Tarloff. And his life would converge with that of Kathryn Faughey, with devastating consequences. David Tarloff was a very troubled individual, and he had exhibited disturbing behaviour for almost 2 decades prior to 2008. And he was well known to mental health services and also the police by 2008. During these years, up to the time of the incident we're going to talk about shortly, he received a wide range of psychiatric assessments and also treatments. He also received medication and electroshock therapy by force. Over the years, as he was hospitalized more than a dozen times, he recounted seeing Satan spelled out in his mind and the eye of God on the kitchen floor. These things are according to psychologists' reports and also court papers. He heard police sirens and concluded that they had been summoned by his bad thoughts. He viewed pieces of paper found in the streets as special messages from God. His relatives begged him to stay in mental hospitals or other adult care facilities, but he would always leave them after first going in. After his mother Beatrice moved from the apartment in Queens that they shared into a nursing home in 2004, Tarloff grew even more erratic and fixated. Convinced she wasn't getting good care at a series of different care facilities, he repeatedly clashed with the staff at those facilities. At the end of January 2008, he got arrested in a scuffle with a security guard at a hospital where his mother was being treated. By early February 2008, he was 39 years old, and he had a plan to rescue his mother from her care home. But it was a plan that would go seriously awry. The terrible and tragic incident occurred at the building where Kathryn Faughey and her friend psychiatrist Kent Shinback would see patients in one-on-one appointments. On the evening of February the 12th, 2008, David Tarloff walked past the doorman, rolling a suitcase behind him, and this was captured on the building's surveillance video. And he said that he was there to see Dr. Kent Shinback, who was a psychiatrist from the practice. Unbeknownst to anybody else at that time, the suitcase contained a rubber mallet, a set of kitchen knives, rope, duct tape, as well as being full of adult diapers and clothing for his mother. and he was filled with the belief that this plan had God's blessing. Tarloff waited in the office reception area, chatting with a patient while one of Dr. Faughey's evening sessions was in progress. After that session concluded, when he knew that Faughey was alone in her office, he entered the room and attacked her with a meat cleaver. She was hacked at least 15 separate times. Dr. Shinbach rushed to the room and attempted to help her, but was seriously wounded by slashes in the face and neck.
New York police are on a manhunt for this man, believed to be a mental patient who stabbed and killed his psychologist with a meat cleaver.
He went into the office of his victim and attacked her with both a knife and a meat cleaver.
Surveillance video shows the man coming into the therapist's office Tuesday night. The killer went and slashed 56-year-old Kathryn Faughey 15 times, then proceeded to attack another psychiatrist who came to her assistance when he heard the screams.
The office was in disarray, as you might imagine. There was just furniture overturned, blood on the walls and the floor of the office.
The attack was so brutal that, according to police, the killer had bent both the meat cleaver and a 9-inch knife blade in the process of stabbing the victim. The killer escaped before police arrived. Faughey was dead at the scene while police rushed a second victim to New York Presbyterian Hospital. Residents of this Upper East Side Manhattan neighborhood are stunned.
I'm shocked. I mean, this is quite frightening. It's terrifying and very, very sad.
It was rather disturbing, and my window faces right that entrance to the building.
Pretty horrifying, especially this wasn't some random shooting. This is a guy with a meat cleaver.
And what's even more unsettling for the people who live here is that the killer is still out there.
I'm not afraid that this guy is going to get me or get anyone I know, but it's still unsettling that he got away. It's a horrible, heinous crime. I would love to see this person put away for what he did.
Bonnie Ghosh, The Associated Press, New York.
David Tarloff was duly arrested and arraigned for the murder.
Well, I can't imagine that it has.
21 times.
Right.
So 23 and I'm 40. I didn't go there. All I wanted was to get money from him. So I thought he was rich. So I could go there, get his money. I was going to leave him there. I had this hammer. I was going to hit him. It was mad. I didn't want to hurt him. I was going to tie him up and scare him. But I didn't know that lady was going to be there. I went to it because I heard a noise and I just wanted to go in and look. And she attacked me. Everything happened so fast. I swear to God. I was just going to tie him up, tape him up, shut the door, go. I didn't know anything. I was going to take his card. I even begged him for the number. I wrote it down, but he had a 7-digit number or something, and I know the account's a 4-digit. I had an account. He wouldn't tell me. I tried to leave. I did. I left. I didn't want that lady. I thought she was going to kill me. I didn't know what to do. Everything happened fast. I swear to God. And I left him there. I was going like this. I was just trying to scare him. Give me the money. Yeah. I saw his pictures. So his wife. I never thought about money, and I swear to God. And that he wouldn't tell me anything. So then, I was tired. I didn't want to hurt the guy. Then I knew there was somebody there talking to him. And I heard some noise. So then I said, I was scared. Maybe you should call the police. So I threw everything in. I said, listen, this guy's, he's no good. He's a man. I just, it's fine. Please go. And she wouldn't listen. Go in the bathroom. I was got her. I don't know her name. She was a blonde girl. So then, please, I was going bathroom and she started kicking me. So then I heard noise. So then I ran. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wanted to go to Hawaii with this money. I never was going to touch it. I thought, go to Hawaii, my mother would arrest me. My mother would get better. I packed stuff for her, diapers and everything, to take her away. I wasn't I swear to God, I never had a misdemeanor. I had parking tickets as a kid. I lived in that building for 40 years. The worst thing I ever did was asking people for a few dollars because I was on the drugs, but I never stole. I paid for it. My brain was tired. I found it accidentally. The medication was so hard to get. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that woman. I didn't know her. I didn't know she was going to be there. I called to make sure that he was going to be there. I didn't know. I thought it was his own office. I didn't know any. I called Gracie Square. This is his office. I wrote it down. I went there. I knocked on the door just to see if anyone was going to be there. I know his last phone was 8 o'clock. I said, do you know where the bathroom is, the secretary? Because I just wanted, I figured, she said, yes, you left. And I left. And then I waited in the bathroom and I heard everybody leave. I swear that I heard everybody leave because I wasn't going to hurt anybody. Please remember this. I swear to God, on my mother's life. You have a mother, I swear to God. And then, that's it. I'm sorry.
And ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation. And while this found him to be mentally competent to stand trial, there would be a lengthy and convoluted series of processes that would follow this around whether or not Tarloff was indeed competent. There was evidence that the attack had been premeditated, but that the intended victim was Shinback. Tarloff told police that he had planned to rob Shinback, who he remembered being involved in diagnosing him with schizophrenia in 1991 and arranging for his institutionalization at that time. Not one to hold a grudge then. Tarloff had hoped to get $40,000 from Shinback, then abduct his mother from the care home before both mother and son would abscond on a long vacation in Hawaii. Tarloff, who was expected to plead insanity in the case, was confined to a psychiatric unit of Bellevue Hospital while awaiting trial.
Suspected meat cleaver killer David Tarloff pleaded not guilty Monday in a Manhattan court.
Right now, it's not guilty.
Defense attorney Brian Konoski has yet to decide whether that plea will be not guilty by reason of insanity.
Right now, it's inconclusive findings as to the forensic psychiatric evaluation. We're open to the plea changing in the future.
Several relatives of victim Kathryn Faughey were in court to view the proceedings. Although they wanted to show their presence, they did not want to speak on camera.
Oh, no, I really don't want to. Thank you.
This is the first time Kathryn Faughey's family appeared to show their support in court. Although they did not want to comment on camera, both Kathryn Faughey's brother and sister told me they were devastated and they were here hoping that justice will be served for their sister. Tarloff faces charges of first and second degree murder for the slaying of psychologist Kathryn Faughey and the attempted murder of Dr. Kent Shinback. Tarloff was shown on surveillance video the night he is believed to have went into Faughey's Manhattan office and stabbed her to death with a meat cleaver and a knife. Since his arrest back in February, Tarloff has been transferred from a psychiatric hospital in Manhattan to a regular jail. But his attorney says he's been abused and not properly medicated while in jail.
David was assaulted by an inmate. He's been heckled and verbally abused by inmates. His psychiatric condition seems to be getting worse, seems to be getting more paranoid, seems to be exhibiting signs of hallucinations.
For now, Tarloff will remain in jail until the trial for Kathryn Faughey's murder begins. Bonnie Ghosh, The Associated Press, New York.
At this time, his attorney said that the evidence is clear that he did it, but the reasons he did it are so crazy that we believe we have a very strong insanity defense. His trial was initially scheduled for October of 2010. But during jury selection, a mistrial was declared after two psychiatrists that the court had appointed to evaluate Tarloff found him mentally unfit to stand trial. So Tarloff went on trial for the murder for the second time in March 2013 in the State Supreme Court in Manhattan. Jury selection was completed on March the 8th, 2013, and opening arguments were heard on March the 11th. Tarloff admitted to committing the murder, but sought to avoid a prison sentence on the grounds of his mental illness. On April the 16th, 2013, a mistrial was declared after the jury came back for a third and final time with a note that they were still deadlocked. So after mistrials in 2010 and 2013, a third trial began with jury selection on March the 3rd, 2014. Of course, given the impact that Tarloff's mental health issues had had on the court process so far, there was still uncertainty as to whether the case could actually proceed to a verdict. But the prosecutors were confident enough in their case to progress matters to trial for a third time. And this time there was a better outcome and justice for Kathryn Faughey, whose immediate family were present in the courtroom when the verdict was reached on March the 28th, 2014. Some 6 years after the murder, Tarloff was finally found guilty of murder in the first degree for killing Kathryn Faughey, assault in the first degree for the attack on Dr. Shinback, and the verdict was reached in less than 5 hours of deliberation time. On May the 2nd, 2014, a Manhattan Supreme Court justice sentenced David Tarloff to life without the possibility of parole for murder in the first degree, plus 25 years to life for assault in the second degree. Each of the Faughey family members gave a victim impact statement of how their lives had changed. Before being sentenced, David Tarloff acknowledged that what he did was wrong and apologized to the family, saying that he was 46 years old and had been sick since he was 23. The Supreme Court justice was satisfied that the jurors had found Tarloff guilty. But the case had much broader implications around mental health treatment, and indeed the risks to private practitioners who were seeing patients in isolated offices. It would be fair to say that nobody was expecting a man that Dr. Shinbach had diagnosed with schizophrenia some 17 years before to turn up that day. But it seemed that anyone with even vague knowledge of the practice could have accessed both the building itself and the practice offices, and clearly someone with a determination to cause harm found it relatively easy to do so. It's difficult to class David Tarloff as a cockwomble in my usual classical sense, but he was obviously a very, very troubled man, and as such a very dangerous man. But again, it falls into the grey area of how we treat those with severe mental health issues and what is acceptable without infringing the human rights of that individual. The rights of the individual need to be balanced with the safety of wider society. And it is a delicate balance, so answers on a postcard as to how we can achieve this safely and respectfully. I'd love to read your thoughts on this in the comments section. So our thoughts now turn to Kathryn Faughey. She was survived by her husband Walter, who she had loved and cared for over the 25 years of their marriage. And also she was a member of a tight-knit family of 6 siblings, the others being Kevin, Owen, Mary, Eileen, Michael, Bernadette, along with their spouses, and 7 nieces and nephews, along with a grandniece. Kathryn grew up in Sunnyside in Queens and moved to Manhattan, where, as we know, she established her clinical psychology practice after obtaining her doctorate in psychology from Yeshiva University. Kathryn's choice of career in a helping profession benefited her patients, to whom she had an unfailing dedication. Kathryn was a spiritual person with a wide variety of interests, including music, writing, and art. Her love of the excitement of Manhattan was matched by her love of the beauty of Paris, and she visited Paris often. Anyone who knew Kathryn Faughey was truly blessed. This video is of course dedicated to Kathryn Faughey. She was a kind and caring spirit, and her loss was felt by a great many people near and far. and I send them nothing but love. Now, before I end this video, I need to mention my jaunt to CrimeCon London a couple of weeks ago. The weekend started with a trip on the 1920s themed Murder Express for an immersive dining experience, and it was absolutely brilliant. I'll put a link to it in the video description. This is not an advert. It was just lots of fun. Then it was 2 days volunteering at CrimeCon London, where much fun was had by all who were there. But the reason I wanted to mention CrimeCon London was that the dates for CrimeCon 2025 have been released, and they are the 7th and 8th of June next year. I'll put the ticket link in the description, and if, like me, you're finding money tight, they offer a payment plan option so that you can spread the cost, because they are very good people like that. With all of that said, thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. I'm Steve. This wandering vagabond is Samson, and we will see you when we see you.